Now, after he was a test pilot, he started his own business, Pacific Aeromotive, I think it was called. Did he ever tell you much about that business? Or
Well, I know that they ended up with an FBO down at Long Beach, which I've been to many times, and uh, I think Janice spent time there too. And then they sold it to the Japanese after a while. But he retained his office at no rent. Now, see, does that sound like John? Uh, oh, gosh, certainly a decade, maybe 15 years.
now they say that John Myers was a handshake type of guy. He just was one of those that type of person that was total honesty character, and he had a sort of a philosophy of that way.
Yeah, and with him, you didn't need a contract at all. And I don't know if my boss was the same way. And I told you the story about buying the first golf course. Well, this is our only contract. We initialed a dollar bill and said, deal. Uh, and once again, that was the culture. And you wouldn't dream of violating that.
Their uh, their generation was humble, but they had character.
Right. That reminds me of Churchill. Uh, I love all his sayings, and so did John. And one of his opponents in the Parliament, somebody said, "But he's a very humble guy." And Churchill said, "Yes, and he has much to be humble about."
Joe Torre, the baseball manager, said that you can learn more about a person's character during the tough times versus easy going times.
Yeah.
Can you describe John Myers' character? I know he had some ups and downs and crashes, and
Oh yeah. Uh, he had a number of crashes, and some of the airplanes were kind of weird, but he was never afraid of testing these airplanes. And then when it did occur, he was so able to put it in the past, and and yeah, like you said, be stronger, learning out of tribulation. And I think most people would have said, "That's it, I'm done," or "I'm taking a year off," or something like that. And the great story of he and Lindbergh, did you hear about that
yeah,
in the P-61?
that's a great story.
Yeah,
They say that a person's 5 years from now, you'll be the same person you are today, except for the people you meet and the books you read. Did you learn anything by knowing John Myers?
um, you're probably the first one to make me think about it that way. But looking back, I'd say, I'm so love the guy and would love to be like him, especially his attitude. His flying ability? No, I don't think of that. I think about his way of dealing with people. I mean, if he was your friend, man, you had a friend. And attitude about things in life. He saw all the good things and didn't miss the the joy of a simple day, or hunting ducks, wasn't it? Where you go down to um, Mexico, and that I never did, so I didn't quite understand all that shooting ducks.
But he liked to live, though.
Alive, yeah, and he loved being with his friends, and they loved being with him. And patience, incredible. Uh, Joy, as I said, and love, peace, fruit of the Spirit, the Holy Spirit.
A lot of the kids today don't take history anymore in school. Do you think it's important that people know about people like John Myers and people from a different era, a different life, a different generation?
Oh, I think it's essential. And it's shocking and makes me feel bad for the nation that that's not focused on. It's just everything, what is current, what's today. Um, and you kind of see the result, don't you?
How do you think John Myers is going to be remembered?
Well, I think this picture of him by his P-61, you know, his face. Look at his face. It's happy, bold, adventuresome, hero, friend, kind, generous. I never heard him criticize anybody. And really, what is so emotional about this, the balance of the time I have, I'm the same age as Teddy Kennedy, incidentally. To be able to live the balance of the time I have here like him, I'd be overjoyed. And maybe you've helped me say, okay, you know about John, now live that way, not just knowledge.
Talked to one gentleman who knew Ronald Reagan and also knew John Myers, and he said that in his mind there were some similarities in their style.
Yeah, I knew Ronald Reagan too. I helped raise the first money for him at one of our country clubs, $36,000, and he showed up with a light brown suit, where everybody else had, you know, a suit like the dark color. And so when he did get elected, I was the first time invited back to Washington. We went to lunch in the White House, and Ronald Reagan said, a reporter asked me today, what are the two biggest problems facing America, ignorance or apathy? And he said, I don't know and I don't care. Now, he was like that, you know, and we lived close to him before he was governor and president.
Great sense of humor.
Yeah, and graceful, also kind. That's another thing I didn't say about John and him. Ego. You didn't see ego. Oh, hey, take a look at me. I'm pretty hot, don't you think? It'd be the last thing they would say. Be the other way.
Yeah, he didn't really talk about his accomplishments unless somebody really talked him into talking about it.
That's right.
So do you, did he ever talk about flying with you, or did you ever fly actually in the same plane with him or helicopter with him?
Yeah. We flew together many times in the Citation and the helicopter, mostly up around his ranch, but we went to Reno a couple of times, and oh, you'll love this. We'd be flying, and we'd be flying instruments and talking to the FAA, the controllers, and he'd say, so-and-so, it was 10,000 feet. They go, John, is that you? These people all knew him. It was unbelievable.
I was at a funeral a couple weeks ago, and it was interesting. There was about 500 people there that none of them knew each other. But this person had touched that many people.
Ah.
And that's sort of what John Myers seems like. There's a lot of people he's touched that a lot of people don't even know each other, but they know John Myers.
Right. And because of that, they feel a connection. Rightly so. And it's almost like being in a fraternity. You're kind of honored to be in that group.
Now, he liked cars and boats.
Bentleys. I don't know about the boat time, but yeah, I guess he used to zip around fast at Lake Arrowhead or somewhere. But of course, he always liked a white Bentley. And I think that was the connection with this guy I mentioned, Bruce Myers, who's a great car collector and has a whole bunch of cars at the Peterson Museum. In fact, I bought Clark Gable's a Mercedes convertible from his widow, who lives in Beverly Hills. And Bruce Myers was always desperate to have this car. When he found out that I had purchased it, because she wouldn't sell it to him, but she liked me, oh, he was, and I've taken him for a ride in the Mustang. Well, years later, after I restored it, I sold it to Bruce, and he still has it, and it's in that museum I just told you about.
Now, you're a busy person. Why did you take the time to talk about John Myers?
Oh, um, it's such a pleasure to have you help me bring back the memories, and reading this file, you know, that I have on him, hoping to see the film, remembering the good times, adventures, joy, always at cocktail parties or dinner. There was always great conversation. Who's the guy that was lost for so many years?
Fawcett.
Steve. Steve also hung out mostly through Barron. You know, was always talking about world records, and kind of a funny guy actually. And wanted me and to go around the world setting a record in a dirigible, a blimp. And so I asked John, "What do you think?" And he goes, "I don't think so." So I didn't do it.